Hello and welcome to Capital Connection with me, Kamran Yousaf. It is a show where we discuss issues that dominate Pakistan's national scene. Like always, let me first introduce my panelists. We have with us in the studios Mr. Barrister Iftikhar Ahmed. He is a former senator and knows Pakistani politics and history quite well. Mr. Azaz Sayyid, the senior journalist currently associated with Geo Television. And last but not the least, we have with us Mr. Athar Kazmi. He is a special correspondent working with Hum News. Many thanks to all of you for joining us tonight on the Capital Connection.
Thank you.
So the top leadership of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz and Pakistan People's Party is certainly in hot waters. Coming days will certainly important for the future of both the ousted Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and former President Asif Ali Zardari. The Accountability Court will deliver its verdict in Al-Azizia and flagship references against the ousted Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on December 24. And the same day, the Supreme Court of Pakistan will take up the money laundering case involving the former President Asif Ali Zardari. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf has already predicted the end of political future of both Zardari and Nawaz. Opposition parties, however, say that this is a well-orchestrated campaign to silence the opposition parties. So a lot is happening and much more is expected in coming days. So let's start the discussion from Barrister Iftikhar Ahmed. You are also a lawyer. So what do you expect on December 24 when Accountability Court will deliver its verdict on the two remaining references against the ousted Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif?
Well, actually, I've not been following the facts of the case as they proceeded in the court. But there's one thing to remember in these trials, which are the accountability trials of Mian Nawaz Sharif, that they were preceded by the Supreme Court judgment in Panama case. And in Panama case, the interesting thing is that the inquiry was done by JIT for the health of the Supreme Court. They ordered it for themselves to be aware of the facts and all the allegations that were investigated by JIT. So the most important thing is that instead of courts always saying or directing or ordering inquiry by police or other investigating agencies, in this case, the Supreme Court actually directed X number of references to be started, which is to say that they were quite satisfied with the report of the JIT and the evidence that came before it. Consequently, the trial took place. Now, the difference between, it's not simple to say that as the Supreme Court had found him guilty and it was only merely a charade to go through the trial in the Accountability Court. No, that wasn't the case. It is all left to the judge, who's the trial judge, in both these references, as to how do they find the facts put before them. You see, the Criminal Procedure Court...
But let me ask, in a country like Pakistan, do you really expect that a judge from a lower court will really, undo the verdict or the observations of the apex court of Pakistan? Because some say that obviously the judge of the Accountability Court will certainly work under pressure, because you won't find many precedents when the Supreme Court actually make sure that you deliver the verdict on particular date.
I don't agree, unfortunately, because you see, the judge has to write a judgment. The judge has to follow the Criminal Procedure Code. The judge has to hear evidence in open court, where after the conclusion he has to come to a decision analyzing evidence from both sides, and that has to go into appeal. And what we saw of the very first reference in Avonfield case, that was struck down or suspended by the High Court. At least the sentence was suspended, because they said in the passing that with hindsight it will not stand the test of time, this judgment. So therefore, you see, what I mean to say is that these are tough times for Mian Nawaz Sharif, and unfortunately they have not put up a substantial defense.
Okay,
so far.
let me take the discussion forward. You also, follow this case quite closely. What we have seen over the past a few months, there is an element of predictability. Whenever either the Supreme Court or the Accountability Court deliver judgment, more or less they are against the PMLN leader Nawaz Sharif and even Shehbaz Sharif. In this case, do you find anything different? Do you believe that Nawaz Sharif can still escape the punishment?
Kamran, we all know that Supreme Court has already given a verdict in this Panama case, and following that verdict, the trial was initiated at Accountability Court. How come a junior judge could challenge the verdict of the Supreme Court? So initially questions were raised.
But Islamabad Court did that when they suspended, of course, when they
Islamabad
suspended.
High Court did that.
So technically, they are junior judges when it comes to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But if you talk about the freedom of the junior judges with compared to the freedom of those judges who have now become the Chief Justice of High Court, so there is a difference. There is a seniority precedent, and we know that the incumbent Chief Justice of Pakistan is going to retire next month. So to my understanding, these kind of questions were raised even at that time, that how come without going to trial court the case is being proceeded in the Supreme Court. So these are some legal questions that somewhere some mistake was made.
So what are your expectations on December 24? What kind of judgment do you anticipate?
Kamran, I don't see that there is a possibility that Mian Nawaz Sharif would be given a clean sheet. I think so. He will be sentenced to jail again, and he will again be facing the situation which already he has faced. And rest of the things we all know that where the case is heading.
Do you agree with this that there is writing on the wall for Nawaz Sharif? He can't escape punishment and conviction.
Well, if he's able to convince judges in the court that he's innocent, I'm sure he'll be free. If we go back to Panama case, we must recognize that it was the then government of Mian Nawaz Sharif who requested Supreme Court to make a commission to investigate this matter. So it was not
at that time, even they called it their success.
Their success.
Yes.
And after the Panama verdict, they even distributed sweets and all that, and they were very happy with the verdict. Another thing, it all started with a speech in the parliament that these are the sources. We will provide you all the money trail, we'll provide you all the evidence. So rather than making it a political case, I think they need to fight a legal case. All they need to do is provide the money trail. They've been spending money around the world. They've got properties around the world. They've got businesses around the world. Why not just, provide the money trail and, they'll be free. So I don't think the court has any bias against anyone. Yes, it seems that they
you are saying that whatever has happened in the Accountability Court or in the Supreme Court, the trial was fair when it comes to Nawaz Sharif and his other family members.
If we believe in institutions, if we believe in democracy, if we believe in a civilized society, we must have trust in our institutions. If we think that the apex court of this country is biased, then God help us. Where do we go from here? So we must.
The problem is that we have a sorry history. We are not a country where democracy is really well established, where institutions are working without interference from other institutions, because that's our history. That's why people often question.
Yes, but things have moved on. We are not living in 90s and 80s. Hamid Gul Sahab has died. All those judges who were taking calls from Shehbaz Sharif to give verdicts, all those judges are gone. So military has moved on. People have moved on, politicians have moved on, so we need to move on as well.
Do you think that we have really moved on? Because one parallel people are drawing with the current political situation with once, after Musharraf took over, he sidelined even the former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif. And some people say that this government is actually following the same policy. They want both Zardari and Nawaz in jail so that Imran Khan can govern this country without any problem.
Well, this is how it looks, actually. This is how it looks. Perhaps true also. But we have to look at a grander scenario. Mm-hmm. And I believe that people are much more aware. They have moved on in understanding the political situation in Pakistan. I mean, they have gone through the regime of Asif Ali Zardari and the regime of the Sharifs. And
when you say people, the common man that
yes,
you're talking about, the voters have moved on.
Indeed, they're much wiser now. I mean, you talk to people on the street and you will get the feel of what people are about. But in order to discipline it in the sense of judicial cases and the backing of institutions for a particular party or a government, one has to see whether we, as others rightly said, that we have to trust our institutions somehow. If, for instance, we believe on an anarchic pattern that we suspect each and everyone involved in doing something that we don't like, then perhaps there will be an utter disorder. And in order to agree as a nation and as a society on certain patterns, which may, I'll be quite happy to see Nawaz Sharif ultimately acquitted by the Supreme Court. And there can be a possibility, for instance, if his lawyers have been able to put up a case before this judge and the previous judge.
And even we know the poor prosecution of NAB even, often, their cases could not sustain, the conviction even at the higher level. So there is always a possibility. We have to go for a break here. And after the break, our discussion will continue. So stay with us. Welcome back. You are watching Capital Connection and we are discussing the current political situation, particularly with regard to the coming events. For example, the much talked about the verdict of the Accountability Court in the two remaining references against the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, and also the important money laundering case that is going to be taken up by the Supreme Court next week. So as PTI is saying that this is the end of road for both Nawaz and Zardari. It is a matter of question that when they are going to jail. How do you see it? I mean, in our country, we have even in the past predicted the demise of many political leaders, but somehow or the other they re-emerged. Do you think this time it would be different?
Kamran, slightly this time it's different, but declaring that somebody has politically died, I think it's a very tall claim. And we have seen General Musharraf claiming the same, and we have seen that both the leaders came back, and he initially had said that I won't allow both the leaders to come back in the country, and he allowed, and we saw what happened. Nawaz Sharif is there, and Benazir Bhutto, and of course Asif Ali Zardari was there. But in this particular case, I would say that
so do you still see a possibility of another NRO?
I don't think so.
Because when Benazir and Nawaz came back, that were because of result of NRO.
Kamran, what we are skipping in this discussion is the role of some powerful people, powerful establishment in this country. As my friend said that we should believe in institutions, there shouldn't be any doubt in the institutions. We should, of course, we idealize that slogan and that kind of situation. But unfortunately, we see a civil military rift in the history of this country, and we see the role of establishment in most of the cases. Unfortunately, the establishment in this country, they play a role, and they play a role in the media, they play a role in the judiciary.
And you believe that the current cases facing both by Nawaz Sharif and Zardari, the establishment is also playing a role?
Kamran, if I would say anything, it would be against the code. I don't want to become
No, you can say it.
But in my opinion, there are certain questions. The way JIT worked, there were certain rules, and the way the name of Mr. Nawaz Sharif was dragged in, because it is established in the court, and NAB during the cross-examination, NAB prosecutors has accepted that the name of Mr. Nawaz Sharif was neither nowhere, not even head of any company. So they have accepted it in the court. So there are questions the way the case was carried on against Nawaz Sharif. I don't claim that they are very clean people, Nawaz Sharif or Zardari, but the due process of law is a question which was not followed.
And what do you make of it? Because obviously these are the questions often raised, and we know that the former judge of the Islamabad High Court, Justice Siddiqui, once also made a startling revelation that how people from the security establishment wanted that Nawaz Sharif should remain behind the bars before the elections. Whether those allegations were true or not, but at least when a senior judge of a high court saying something, that means there is certainly something going on behind the scene.
The easiest thing in the world, Kamran, is to make allegations. So that senior judge was also facing very serious allegations, corruption allegations. So I'm not going to go into that, because I'm not privy to any information which suggests that establishment is behind this or otherwise. So I'm not going to go into that debate. But establishments everywhere in the world, they have a role to play. They play a role, and we must.
But they play a role within the constitutional framework, because you never hear that your subordinate come up and tell your prime minister that you should resign.
Exactly, because they are settled democracies. Right now, as I mentioned a couple of programs ago, that every institution is, they are struggling. They're trying to find their space. They're trying to get as much space, they could get in the system. So the judiciary is fighting for the space, a military establishment is fighting for the space, civilian rulers, civilian political parties, they are fighting for space. So we are not a settled democracy as such.
But the current government is lucky, because everybody says that it is for the first time perhaps in many decades that this government enjoys the backing of all state institutions. We see harmony on many issues, even both internal and external. So we are talking about the cases related to the previous government, in fact.
Yeah, current government, yes, there is not lack of trust. With the previous government, there was absolute lack of trust between civilian government and the military leadership, and that's not good for country. We've seen that Dawn Leak saga, we've seen few other episodes where we could easily tell there is tension between the civilian and military leadership. That's not good for any country. Coming back to the point of establishment everywhere in the world, they play a role. You go to America, establishment has a role to play. Look at CIA, they pick up people from Afghanistan and take them to Thailand for torturing. Look at MI6, they pick up people from Libya. But do you think
that they are doing it without the approval of the president?
No, that's the thing, because they are settled democracy. They are working for each other. Here, they are working against each other. Once they settle, everybody is settled in their own place, they'll get together and rule us. At the moment, they're just trying to find their own space.
But the problem is that how we come to that point where we will have a established democracy and all institutions work within the constitutional framework.
Sorry for interruption. My question to you, Kamran, and to Iftikhar Sahab is this, that have we seen, or if we have seen, it should come in the on the record that CIA is making political parties and breaking political parties. MI6 is
yes, from Nicaragua, from Iran, from Iraq, they make it all over the world.
The main question is, are they doing whatever they do? Do they do without the approval of the president?
This is the point.
Well, actually, you see, it's more complex than that. It's not actually black and white, that in X country, the army is not doing anything in our country.
And to be fair, that this comparison, all democracy, they have evolved after years of struggle.
Exactly. So give us 300 years and we'll be fine.
Every country has its own dynamics, political or security. Every military and intelligence establishment has its own parameters and imperatives. So they function entirely differently. And our history is different than the United States of America. Our history is different from that of Europe or Britain. Therefore, we only have to see through the prism of our own background and our own history what is happening in Pakistan. And in order to say that everybody should be functioning clean and separated in their own alcoves in Pakistan, only then there'll be honky-dory it's not possible. The influence of Pakistan Army on Pakistan's political scene has been dominant for the past 70 years. No political leader can stand and say he opposed the army or he was a revolutionary and he brought about this party or this government through different means. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto took birth on the lap of a military general.
But don't you think that we should need
Everybody-
to break that cycle?
No,
I mean, is it
no,
a good
this-
is it a good model that we are following?
There may not be. You see, as I said, in Pakistan...
Because at the end of the day, some people say that Imran Khan may also face the same allegations. Opposition say that he is not Prime Minister elect, rather he is a Prime Minister selected by someone.
It doesn't really make any difference. Whatever terminology one uses, it's the factual situation one has to marry with. We have to understand how we go along with this rather than nitpicking in this. I mean, who doesn't know this? As I just said, this was a question asked of me at BBC on the day elections took place here. And they said, isn't Pakistan Army influencing today's elections? I said, Pakistan Army has been influencing the politics of Pakistan for the past 70 years. And there's no denying
So
the
what
fact.
you are suggesting, should we reconcile with this
There is
position?
this exercise is futile. This exercise is futile. The purity to be discovered in politics will come. It will come. As Arthur said, actually we are trying to emulate as though we are absolutely at par with developed nations and we must be one of the EU member countries today. And in that sense, separate the army, separate the intelligence. It won't happen. Even if, who says today that Pakistan Army influenced Pakistan's politics? There is no sign. There is no evidence. There is no evidence, as Arthur said, in any country. How the Iraq war took place, how Tony Blair was duped into false reporting, was all the establishment doing it. They destroyed their own country and another country based on their military advice and their intelligence reports. They actually killed one of their own doctors who did the report.
So it's all the more important that we should not follow their example.
Well, actually, you see, what we need to do is, in my humble opinion, I may be wrong completely, is to actually go along and see where does the prosperity of our people lie. We actually forget everything and we find it much convenient. It is more easier to indulge in such debates. One has to see is on a daily basis any government, be that of Imran Khan, be that of Nawaz Sharif, be that of Zardari, or be that any Tom, Dick and Harry in this country, to actually be assessed and analyzed and filtered as to is he delivering two things a common man needs in a state: security and welfare. Is a government delivering on these 2 points?
We will come to this point because that's very important, and this government at least believe that they are delivering. In fact, that they said that because of their anti-corruption drive, now the investors are reposing their trust in Pakistan. They are investing in Pakistan. Opposition parties, of course, have a other story to tell. So we will continue our discussion, but after this short break. Welcome back. You're watching Capital Connection and we are discussing the current political situation. And before the break, the key question is, obviously, if you talk to the common man, as Barrister Saab pointed out, they want security and welfare. Do you think that this government has really lived up to the promises so far, as we're hearing reports that they are now preparing for another mini budget? They have already presented one in September. So what do you say?
Kamran, I think so. This will keep happening until we don't take the key decisions with regards to our neighbors, with regards to our security and with regards to our internal situation. We have to fix our things. As you know, you have done some programs as well on the Financial Action Task Force and the Asia Pacific Group, and we know that sword is lurking over there until we don't take certain steps. we may face some sanctions, and the economic situation of this country could further go worse from this situation. I think so. Everything with regards to the welfare and the economy of this country is linked to certain international obligations which we are bound to fulfill, and we have promised
Don't you
them.
think that this government has an ideal situation, as we say that all institutions are backing this government, so they can take all the difficult decisions, whether on the internal or external front that you're talking about?
I have confidence with the Prime Minister that he is having support of everyone. Unfortunately, previous governments didn't have that support which Mr. Imran Khan is enjoying. But it all depends whether he has the will or whether he has the courage or not. If he has the will and the courage, I think he will take certain steps. But for taking those steps might annoy some people, and he could go home like Nawaz Sharif and Yousaf.
But he has shown certain courage, for example, reaching out to India, opening the Kartarpur corridor, and even today the federal cabinet took an important decision. They removed a couple of members of the National Assembly from the exit control list, and that was a very brave decision on their part. So it means that that this is the advantage that this government has, considering that they have the backing of all the state institutions, that they can take the tough decisions.
Yes, it seems like it, but the thing is that they are not in ideal position. Our foreign debt is $90 billion. The amount of interest we have to pay, our economy is crippled. So expecting them that they will deliver within 6 months or 1 year, I don't think that is going to happen.
Although they have given us the 100-day plan.
That's the thing with this government. They do less and they talk more. So what they need to do is they need to shut their mouths for a while, work. Once they deliver, then they should start talking about it, because their problem is from the day one. Every day a minister comes out and he gives a statement, and then all of a sudden there's a hoo-ha about it and they take the statement back. So at the moment it seems that they want to do something good, but sometimes it seems they are aimless. They don't know where they're going. But let's give them some time, and we'll see in years' time if they are doing good on economic front or not.
But what about this anti-corruption drive? Some people say the way Prime Minister even visited foreign countries, he spoke about the internal politics, and even more often criticized the opposition parties, talked about the bad things in Pakistan. And people say that this actually sent a wrong message to investors and the business community. But the government, on the other hand, said that this actually has helped improve Pakistan's image. Foreign investment is coming to Pakistan. How do you see it?
I agree with the government's position. And that is exactly how it is being felt, that Pakistan is coming with a heavy hand against the corruption. Corruption is a menace now all over the world. I mean, the whole United Nations and international bodies are working towards the elimination of corruption, because it eats on the vitals of economic and trade amongst countries. And Pakistan, I think, needed to do this. No government in the past ever took accountability seriously. In fact, they made a joke out of it by creating their handmade chairman of NAB and ridiculing the whole system in the process. And the evidence of that we saw in the Panama case, when the Supreme Court took over the reins of National Accountability Bureau themselves, and ordered this JIT, which used MLA as a medium to acquire information from abroad. Now, it does, if I was an investor abroad, it does embolden me to go to Pakistan, because I see that the government...
Let me ask, for example, putting Nawaz Sharif and Zardari behind the bars, do you think that this will restore the confidence of the business community, both in and outside Pakistan?
Well, those who believe in the judicial supremacy would perhaps agree and be very happy about this. We've seen in Malaysia, Najib sent for 10 years imprisonment. We've seen the South Korean president handcuffed. These things do send very good signal, and they restore confidence among those who are going to spend billions.
But we have to also understand that both these parties and their leadership still enjoy considerable support among the people. And some people say, because if you really go hard at them, this may invite political instability. And we have already seen some interesting remarks and statements from the former President Asif Ali Zardari.
Well, I mean, he may be saying anything that he likes to say, but the fact remains that the situation is quite converse. Actually, my own People's Party, I was from People's Party, and I do not have very happy memories of that party. I mean, what is happening in Sindh is beyond description. I mean, the way money has been plundered, the way every ministry has been levied tax every evening, and the way launches have been carrying loads of cash currency out of the country, how banks were created and how these accounts we are seeing. I mean, this is shameful for any country and any society to stand and talk about. I mean, the only good thing people can talk about is cutting the head of this menace. And this is exactly what is happening. I mean, I think Pakistan should feel proud about this.
We talked about Nawaz Sharif, but do you think that Zardari is even in deeper trouble because when the Supreme Court will take up the money laundering case, and even the government is saying that they have now evidence that Zardari also had properties in the US that he did not disclose in his asset details, and they are also filing reference before the Election Commission.
Kamran, there are two things. One, it is being said that corruption is a challenge or a problem number one in Pakistan. To my understanding, corruption is and was never a challenge number one of this country. Rule of law, rule of constitution remain, and it is still challenge number one of this country. Besides this,
and because of lack of rule of law, absence of rule of law, that encouraged corruption.
Yeah,
so in a way,
this generated that. One thing. The second thing on this particular case of fake accounts, you know that JIT has submitted its report today, and according to my information, they have held responsible to Mr. Asif Ali Zardari, his sister Frial Talpur, and 11 others. They are connected to each other. So, getting involved in corruption, plundering money, I think so. There shouldn't be any tolerance on that. I agree with this. But unfortunately, we have been witnessing, unfortunately, that each time when it was done, when cases were framed, even in 90s, we have seen that. Each time, certain people wanted certain assurances. They didn't want justice. The people of this country were fooled each time that after passing some time, the certain people from the establishment or somewhere else, they seek certain interests. They get certain interests, and the people who have plundered this country, they are released. Unfortunately, when intention is justice, then things will be fixed.
But current Prime Minister Imran Khan said that there is no question of any NRO, either with Nawaz Sharif or Zardari. So he's pretty clear that they will face the music.
The time will tell whether he gives the NRO or not. Unfortunately, Prime Minister Imran Khan has many corrupt people within his team, within his own team. He has given them NRO, but he is not ready to give NRO to anybody else. But time will tell whom he gives the NRO, whom he doesn't.
Okay, we have to go for a break here, and after the break, our discussion will continue. So stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Capital Connection, and we are discussing the current political situation. Because of these corruption cases against both the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and former President Asif Ali Zardari, both these parties are now getting increasingly close to each other. We saw there was a meeting between the former President Asif Ali Zardari and leader of the opposition in the National Assembly, Shehbaz Sharif. So some people say that now when both are actually facing the music, they know that they need to protect their interests, and that's why there is a talk of a greater alliance and even to topple the government. So Athar, what do you think? Do you think there is a possibility both People's Party and PMLN may join hands? We have already seen that they are backing each other's narrative. There was a meeting between Shehbaz Sharif and Asif Ali Zardari. Do you think it has to do with the corruption cases the leadership of both the parties facing, or other reasons?
Both. The thing is that they are political parties, so they ought to work with each other. At the moment, both of them are in opposition, so it is a natural alliance anyway. With regards to Zardari Saab, if Zardari Saab is disqualified or if he goes to jail, I think that will be blessing in disguise for PPP. That would give birth or rebirth to a PPP led by Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, and that would give hope to hundreds and thousands of PPP followers around the country. So I think it, in a way, some People's Party leadership, senior leadership, they'll be probably looking at it quite positively. You know, they'll be.
And Barrister Saab knows the People's Party very well. Do you agree with this, that some people might be from inside saying that, okay, it's good that if Zardari is put behind the bar, so at least that Bilal will take charge of the party fully?
This is not that party that Zulfikar Ali Bhutto created. This is the party of hanger-ons. This is the party of losers. There are people, I don't want to name them, they only are there just because they get the Senate ticket and get elected for 6 years. So there are those people who are only...
But what about Bilawal? Some people say that he is mature even by his age, the kind of statements, the speeches that he makes.
What legitimacy he has in Pakistan's politics. What has he done for the people of Pakistan to claim the chairmanship of a very large party, so to say? It's not a family silver that has been passed on to a young man, and he can now
Don't you think that this is also a tragedy? For example, that if his mother, Benazir Bhutto, was not assassinated the way she did, probably he might have to wait a little longer to take over the party. Because of the, she was assassinated, and people say that then, somebody from, Bhutto dynasty had to take over the party.
He's not from Bhutto dynasty. He's not a Bhutto. And Benazir never even wanted her own husband to be a member of the People's Party. Asif Ali Zardari was never a member of People's Party. He was never a member of the Central Executive Committee. He never held any office of the party. It is all the aftermath of her assassination. The unfortunate event gave birth to strangers getting together, calling themselves Pakistan People's Party. What is Bilawal Bhutto?
But don't you think that this is our politics? If you minus Bilawal Bhutto, who do you think that then would take over People's Party? Same is the case with Tehreek-e-Insaf. Some people say that if you minus Imran Khan, do you think that Tehreek-e-Insaf would stay as it is right now?
Which, see,
because this is the problem, that it's a cult following.
Yeah, no, political parties in Pakistan, we've seen their ups and downs, the way they've been withering away. Pakistan Muslim League created this country. How many Muslim Leagues took birth out of Jinnah's Muslim League? So let's not get into that. I mean, the might and the strength of a political party comes through the ballot. I mean, if you're restricted to only few districts of a particular province, I mean, we saw Zulfikar Ali Bhutto winning over the hearts of the people of Pakistan. And now we see the leadership of People's Party actually being cursed by the people of Pakistan.
Then he was hanged.
Well, that is a different story. That was his destiny. Destiny cannot be brought into
politics. Or, in a country like Pakistan, we never, accept popular, leaders.
Well,
even some people say that when you worked with Benazir, and when Benazir was actually, reached a stage where she achieved all the political maturity, at that time she was assassinated.
Yeah.
And probably powers that be knew that how, potent she could be if she came to power again.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You see, the day Kennedy stood up in America to say, today America is not afraid of grace and beauty, he was killed the next week. So it's unfortunate. It does happen. People are afraid of grace and beauty. But I mean, we are now at a crossroad where you see political parties really have to be substantively loyal to the people of Pakistan, rather than their leadership, and rather than polishing their shoes. I mean, what we've been seeing so far is an absolute plunder through the medium of political system, by a handful of people who made riches and didn't give a damn to the welfare of the people, which is pathetic, actually.
But then what is the way out? I mean, it's all, I mean, it looks really nice when we talk about it, but the challenge is that we have failed to do this in
Kamran,
70
if
years.
people, I think we should believe in the wisdom of the people, and this is the wisdom of the people that people have voted for the same People's Party. The people have voted for the same Muslim League Nawaz. Both are facing the corruption, questions. So if these people are corrupt and they're incapable to run this country, why people are voting for them? And we've seen what was happening before the elections, how things were being engineered by someone. We always, the dilemma with us, with the people, with us is that we always believe in the wisdom of few people sitting in the drawing rooms, sitting somewhere in Rawalpindi or in Islamabad. The problem is this, that we have not actually we have not seen the democracy flourishing in this country. When we'll give the complete power to the elected people, even today, I believe that if every institution start believing in the Prime Minister and the Parliament, things will be resolved.
Don't you think that this, the current political dispensation, there is a trust on the leadership of Prime Minister Imran Khan?
Yes, there is a trust, but there are some very important and sensitive areas where decision is being taken by somebody else. We have seen Kartarpur, corridor was opened by a Japhi, not by Mr. Imran Khan. So I think when all the institutions would be giving confidence to the Parliament of this country and to the elected Prime Minister of this country, then things.
And that's exactly, Zardari recently said, that those who have a fixed tenure of 3 years should not take decisions on behalf of Pakistan. It should the Parliament taking the lead.
He's been in power in Sindh for the last 10 years, before that as well. What has he done in Sindh? The thing is that we love to undermine our political system. We all say we are for democracy, but we love to undermine our politicians. Kartarpur was opened by our political government. Even if it was opened by a military government, why are we are not able to give them the credit? Same, whenever something good happens in this country, people say, oh, military must be behind this.
Because of the history. And even Barrister Saab earlier talked about it, that there are certain realities that you have to reconcile with.
That's exactly, but I think where the credit is due, we must give them the credit. The thing is that they're using the boogeyman of military to hide their own ills. Who is stopping Zardari to do health reforms in Sindh? Is there a police station in Punjab where women would feel safe to go at night? Is military stopping our politicians to reform police? So we must look at other things as well. We say our...
so politicians should also share the blame. They can't say that they are angels and they are not being allowed to work.
Why they want to...
We are running out of time. Very quick comment. What is the way forward? Do you think that this government can really deliver?
I believe this government can deliver. And it should be given time and peace, and they should be assessed not on a daily basis, rather through a substantive amount of time as an elected people to make decisions. And there are, short-term measures, medium-term measures, and long-term measures to uplift the society. And one has to follow some kind of a pattern. If Imran Khan painted the whole country white, people will be very happy overnight. Oh my God, the change has come. But we have to see substantive changes to come, which actually do deliver to the lot of the people.
Okay, that's it, Barrister Iftikhar Ahmed, Azaz Sayyid and Mr. Athar Kazmi. That's it from this edition of Capital Connection. Thanks for watching.